Hello.
Episode 4, Fireside Gossip Chat numero 4. I can't believe it.
Can't believe it either, because it feels like we just started doing this, and also it feels like we've been doing it for forever. Both things. So can you please tell me what's on your desk that I just saw?
Obviously, I'm not having dinner. I'm neglecting my wife live on podcasting.
Sorry, Chloe. We all say sorry.
We are very sorry. We're very sorry that you haven't been fed. I also haven't been fed. Okay, so what am I showing you? Kitties! So although my listeners won't be able to see the kitty cats, Rachel's listeners will be able to see some very cute.
It'll be on the YouTube. And if you want to come over to my YouTube a month after this is released, then it'll be there for anyone to see. They are precious. They're little Siamese. Are they?
They are
ragdolls.
Ragdoll.
That's right.
Yeah. So they literally, you can. They're so chill. You can just like pick them up and hold them. And they just like.
I didn't know ragdolls were chill when they were kittens. I assumed they were chill when they were adults.
I mean, they have their moments. Like today, we got with the laser pen, and they went pretty skits. Like they were like skidding across the kitchen and skidding across the hallway trying to catch the laser.
But non-ragdolls do that like 12 hours a day with no laser pointer.
So. Yeah, no. So these guys have slept on this desk for about 7 hours today. They're pretty chill. Yeah, they are pretty chill, which is good because we have a not so chill boy who's nearly 9 who just wants to pick them up and hold them and not put them down. So like it's good that we've got chill cats. Anyway, how's Becca?
Oh, it was a good trip. It was a long trip. I was completely overwhelmed. I did everything wrong. I did absolutely everything wrong in that I did, here we go talking about strengths, but my relator collects. Do you understand relator? I'm still trying to understand. Do you have it? So
I don't. So I have 3 blues at like, I think it's 16, 17, 18 or 15, 16, 17. I think my first blue is either 15 or 16. So, and it's around there. It's in that cluster of the only blues that I even remotely touch. So, in terms of no, but also my wife is top 10 relator.
I have 3 blues in the top 10 and relators, I think 5 or 6. Yeah, it's 6. So
yeah, I think Chloe's is 5 or 6. And definitely I see it all day, every day through her.
What do you see? What do you see in her?
Very deep friendships with a handful of people. It's pretty hard for people to get into those deep relationships with her. Like she doesn't really let people in, but then once she does, she would literally give you a kidney. Like that's the kind of like depth. And also like she has this way of knowing people in a way that I don't. And it's like she's very good at understanding like people behavior, like especially of her friends. She can predict like what will happen, and she's never really wrong. But it also makes her like there's quite a lot of boundaries and barriers, I would say, and she's quite happy to not have many people in those boundaries and barriers because she's got her people and that's it. Like those are her people. So those are kind of like the biggest things that I see. And also it's quite protective. So I have been hurt a number of times, even in this industry. And she's pretty good at saying, you need to back out of this situation. You need to not relate to that person as much as you are, or whatever. Which I can talk about off camera. But yeah, so she's quite good at protecting me because she can see behaviors and stuff. And I think it's from her relator that she does that.
Oh, that's so fascinating. And does she, so I think my relator also, and I was talking to Ellie about this, it also attracts people, people, and I don't know, does she have this too, that people want to be close to her, but she's got the walls.
Yep.
And
yep.
Did I tell you about the map that Ellie had me draw?
No.
Oh, she had me draw a map of my relator, and it was really interesting. That I'll just glance at it, but I won't show it on camera. But it it's a house over here, and then I put who's in the house and who's in what rooms. Like these people can go in the living room. These people can get into the kitchen. These people can come into the bedroom and like hang out on the bed. Like, and not in a sexy way, but you know, like the people at the bedroom of my heart are like, you know, Lala and my sisters. And then what really surprised me is that I had this sanctuary off of the bedroom that just held me. And I didn't expect that to happen. And then out here in boats are like readers and students that I love. And then these people I meet over at this cafe. And at this cafe that I have to take a little boat over to get to that only holds me. There's only one person who can be in this boat. I have an emergency slide. I drew an emergency slide out of that situation so I can get out. And in this trip to America, no emergency slide.
Oops. That was a schoolgirl error.
And it was an error that I went into the whole thing trying to avoid, and I still just screwed it up. And I really, because I have so many people that I love so deeply and I wanted to see them all, but I only had the tolerance to see many fewer than I did. And so I hit my tolerance at like day 3. And by day 4, before we even held our first open house, I canceled our second open house. I just sent out an email saying, I can't do it. Please come to the first open house if you can come to the open house. And I was still getting emails from people that I love saying, but I want to see you not at the open house. This makes me feel like we're not really good friends. And I was like, oh crap. And then I would see them. And I had 45 minutes off one day and I had 2 hours off another day. And that is it. I had morning, afternoon, and evening full of people for 2.5 weeks. And at one point I went to a Buffalo Wild Wings with 2 of my closest friends. And I cried the whole time. They were like, I think you might need therapy, which is always a good idea. But also I just need to get home. I need to get home. And it was really interesting what my brain did. Yeah, go on.
No, I relate to this so hard, but I don't have relator. What I have are influencing circles, because I am so heavily influencing led, or what's the word? Influencing dominant. I have to be very careful who I allow in to influence me, because just as much as I can influence, I can be influenced.
Interesting.
So that was a really interesting lesson for me. But like the thing that so I'm like dying on the inside for you, but from an introvert perspective, as opposed to the related.
And my introvert was, I just stabbed her in the heart and left her to bleed out in the desert sun.
Literally left her bleeding out.
I absolutely did.
This week we've been to Edinburgh. And we met some of my friends, and we met my aunt and uncle. We stayed with my aunt and uncle. But like after we did, we went on a tour and had dinner with my friends, and we did like a bookshop tour and stuff. And then like by the afternoon, I was so ruined just from like that small interaction, like ruined in the best possible way. Like I loved it. I literally was so full. My heart was like billowing, but I was fucked. Like literally fucked.
That is exactly
so all 3 of us, and it wasn't just me. Like
this
was like my whole family. So all 3 of us went back to our B&B, and we put headphones on, and none of us spoke to each other for like 3 hours. We could not people anymore. And
that's what I have to build in.
That's
what I have to build in next time.
Another example, on the drive up to Edinburgh, we were in a car with each other for 3 hours. So I was like, why don't we all listen to audiobooks individually with our own headphones?
You're
like,
a genius.
I know. Like I'm like, oh my God, I'm a terrible mother. Like, why weren't we singing songs together or like talking? And I was like, fuck all of that. We are all going to have headphones on, listening into our own thing. And I tell you what, it enabled that. Like my kid was the best behaved ever. And like, I was, like it was because we needed the sanctuary, the room, the sanctuary. That's what we needed.
Yes. And that is what I failed to bring with me was this sanctuary. And I had such a good time. And this is funny that I came to and you know this, I came to New Zealand with the purpose of finding good friends, and I found good friends, and I have, and I have enough. And they were, of course I always want more, but where would I put them? Where would I fit them? But like they were Marco Poloing me while I was gone, and I couldn't open the Marco Polo. I could not look at them
Yeah,
all.
that's
And I told them,
so
I sent them a WhatsApp. I'm like, I'm just so overwhelmed. I can't. And then I got to the airport in San Francisco, and I suddenly put on my New Zealand hat again, and I listened to all of the messages, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see you. But while I was extroverting so hard as an introvert, I couldn't add more to my plate. And learning this about myself has really solidified some things. Like I'm really good at loving people. I'm really good at having friends.
Yeah.
And I also just need to be a better friend to myself by giving myself the downtime.
So I quite often let my WhatsApp or whatever build to a point where there's like 50 unread messages or more. Like there's like 15 different people who've messaged, and I just can't, like, I just only have so much energy. And there's like a very like select number of people who I will respond to immediately, and everybody else just has to wait, because I just can't, like, and most of them are like immediate family, like my sister or my dad or
my sisters. I always look at their Marco Polos, but everybody else knows. And now, officially that if I have sent you 5 Marco Polos, you can let those sit for weeks. I will always text somebody if it's an dire emergency, or email, like, I need you to do this. But otherwise, yes, letting those build up. And then you have the morning or the afternoon where you're like, oh, I'm very people focused right now. I'm gonna listen to all of them. And it's lovely and it fills you up. But also I have found that setting boundaries around that and just telling people like, oh, I only listen to Marco Polo once or twice a week. I only look at my WhatsApp once or twice a week, and people are okay with that.
Yeah, I just tell people now I'm shit at replying, like, to everything. And I make a point to everything. I'm shit at replying to everything. There is no method in which you can contact me and I will immediately respond.
Exactly.
Unless you are my mum, my dad, my son, my wife, or my sisters. Like, that's it. That is it. Like, and that's okay. And I don't expect anyone to reply. And of course there are, that, like your relator circles, there are levels of immediacy in which people fall to. So like I'm thinking, like, I have a couple of writing friends who it would be unusual for me not to reply to relatively quickly. Like there are but also we have time zone differences, right? So that also enables me not to have to reply immediately. And like, that's so healthy. Like, I think nobody knows healthy.
Where New Zealand is or what time zone it's on. So I get a lot of leeway from that. Like everybody kind of knows where Europe is in relation to America, but New Zealand, they're like, I think it's 4 days in the future and in the middle of the night all the time. So I do utilize that.
But like, when you get to this point in life where everybody expects you to respond like 2 seconds after you send the message, fuck off. Fuck off. Like, who thinks they have that much control over somebody else's life? Like, what is so fucking life-threatening that it requires a response 2 seconds after you've sent it? Like, it's just nonsense. I don't know. I think
we might have talked about this before, but like we both utilize autoresponders to our teeth. And I have this super aggressive autoresponder right now that I love so much. And I actually get feedback on it by people like, will then respond to that and say, I don't need a response. I really enjoyed your autoresponder. That satisfied what I needed. But I do have that line, and perhaps you have it in yours, where it's like, if this is actually urgent, just urgent me back, and I'll hope. I don't even say I'll see it, but I say, hopefully I'll see it a little bit sooner. And I will get absolute strangers who urgent back and say, how do you find an agent? I'm deleting you now. Like, I don't delete much, I know. But I will delete that.
Those people who, like, I get them quite a lot as well. And I'm literally like, when you hit urgent and reply back, it almost actually has the opposite effect in that I'm like, this isn't really urgent, so I'm just going to take even longer to reply now, like, which is terrible. I mean, of course,
I love that you said that though. Like that is so true.
I mean, it does kind of have the opposite effect, because what I feel like is somebody is telling me, dictating to me when I have to reply to them. And I'm like, well, no, you can fuck right off.
Oh,
because
do you know you're doing that to the OG rebel? Don't.
Oh, no.
I can only think of one time. It was like it was literally a banking thing. Like somebody had to, it was a money related, like cut off by the end of the day thing. And I don't remember what it was, but it was like, he was apologetic. He's like, this is urgent. I need you to respond right now. I was like, thank you. That's what it's used for.
Right. And I would actually respond to that. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I completely agree. So speaking about rebellion, in one of the museums we went to in Edinburgh, there was, we went to the Camera Obscura, and there was a button on the wall that said, do not touch this button. Like, absolutely do not.
Do
and
not
then the button,
touch this button, comma, Sacha.
Yeah. And then, well, I touched the button, obviously.
Of course you did.
Said you are like number 66,273 of people who touched the button. So apparently I'm not really a rebel at all. Like, we're all actually rebels.
Oh, they were trolling.
But I loved it.
They were trolling
completely. They were.
I don't know what I would do. I think I would not touch the button, because I'd go into this like, oh, but they want me to touch the button, and then they're going to tell me something about myself. So I'm not even going to touch that button.
Oh my God, I love it.
But I'm much less of a rebel.
Was touching it. Yeah. I like recorded it and everything on like Instagram, like cackling. So I like press the button. But I have questions for you. Anyway, so I asked about America. That was one of the ones that I wanted to ask about. I want to ask you about one of Becca Syme's emails. So that is like, we cannot end this without having spoken about that. But the other one was the book. Did you get through the book in the end?
I am this much. I only have like that much left. So I am more than 90%. And the book that we're talking about is How to Fail by Elizabeth Day, which is not available on
78%.
Kindle.
That's
nice.
So weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I don't understand what that is even is.
Maybe they're doing something on their end with a release or something like that. Yeah. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I think we should. I was just looking because I exported my notes because I highlighted a few things that I thought were really lovely, but then I didn't get a chance to check it before. There were just like a few phrases that really
tell me what resonated with you, and then I will tell you I underlined a few things too.
What does it mean to fail? I think all it means is that we're living life to its fullest. We're experiencing it in several dimensions rather than simply contenting ourselves with the flatness of a single consistent emotion. And I was like, oh my God, I love that so much. That was amazing. I loved that one. What did you think of the book as a whole? I know neither of us have actually quite finished it. I've almost finished it. You're slightly closer to having finished it than me, but
here's what I think. I really, really like it, and I like her, and I love her podcast. And I find it really interesting that you'll find she references Tara Westover's memoir. It was called Educated several times, and she loves it, and she talks about talking to her. And Tara Westover and her both do something that maybe as a specialist in memoir jumps out at me, which is she tells me just enough that I know she's holding me at arm's length, and I want to go deeper, just a little bit deeper. Like, we're not skin surface. Like, she's absolutely letting us in, and she's doing the writer's job. She's letting us into exactly what she wants to let us into. But when she goes deep and hard, have you gotten into the How to Fail at Having Babies yet one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's brilliant. I think that's a brilliant chapter. It's the darkest chapter, and it was perfectly placed at the dark moment in the collection of essays, which is how we structure books of essays. You know, it was the darkest at 75 to 80% or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was probably the best chapter as well. Yeah, I think of what I've read so far.
She tells the deepest truth about herself and lets us in. And I feel like readers at some level know that you're keeping there's a little bit, I would like more showing. And I do believe that it's not all showing. Like, we have to tell in our books, we have to, but she does do a lot of telling. What do you think?
I really like her.
Yes, me too.
And she has some really poignant phrases in there, like the one that I just read to you.
Yes.
But it felt slow to me, I think, because I didn't have the depth that I was after.
Yes.
And then I raced through the baby chapter. I think part of the reason I raced through the baby chapter was because it was the darkest moment, and because it's got more depth, but also because I personally related to that, because we had like issues. So I got some of the things that she was saying. But it did feel slow, and like, I don't know. I thought there would be something more, because of the type of podcast that she, I don't know, more reflections maybe, because it felt like a lot of telling anecdotes from her life, which was great, but I wanted something more philosophical, or like a lesson learned, but it wasn't. It was all kind of, I don't know, like, I like her and I like her writing. I found it engaging, but I did expect something more or something else, I think.
I kind of love that I got it yesterday, yesterday afternoon. And then I spent the evening on my couch yesterday reading it. Well, because that was the only thing I needed to do last night. And it reminded me of when I used to flash through books that I was only 75% invested in. When I am really invested in a book, I usually read it on my Kindle, and I don't read slowly, I read quickly, but I read every single word and every sentence, and I think about every sentence. And last night I didn't really have time to do that. So I wasn't skimming over things, but I was really reading quickly. And the book lent itself to being read quickly. And I had the thought, like, I'm glad I'm not just lying in bed for 4 nights trying to get deep in this, because I'm not sure I could get as deep as I want. Like in the friends chapter, I wanted her to really show me a friend failure. Yes. And it wasn't. It was just like anecdotal about friends. It's so nice to have friends. And sometimes we're not the best friends we could be. I want you to fuck somebody up and feel bad about it and tell me about it. And then you either fixed it or you didn't. I don't care which.
Or be fucked up.
Yeah, or be fucked up by a friend. I want to see the damage. I want to feel the damage.
Yeah, and I do think that she does say quite a few times, I am privileged, I am white, I am middle class, so this is through my lens. But like, I don't feel like, if the hurt was enough for her to feel like it was a failure, show me that. Because like, you can have friendship failures that, like, for example, I lost some friends last year, and it was so sudden. I was literally talking to Chloe about it today. They were like really, really good friends. So much so we'd been abroad multiple times.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then
this is a failure.
They cut us off. Like, they literally cut us off. Like, I can talk about it more like off the podcast, but it was like a death. It was a sudden death.
Absolutely.
For us. And like
my relator just shriveled and died.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how I would handle that.
And Chloe's too. Like, and like, it was not okay. But in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't be seen as like it would be one of those first world problem type failures, but the depth and the pain of which I felt, I could convey that in a way that would be deeper, I think, right? Like, that's the thing that I was missing, that emotional connection, except the baby chapter.
Exactly. And in fact, this morning I woke up and I've been writing this essay for my Patreon that needs to go out, on Monday, because it's the end of the month, and it's about my America trip. And I have really been struggling with it. I'm like, what am I doing? Because I was trying to entertain, which is something we both always do, right? And she does really well because she is a journalist. She's trained. She's written many, 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 many well-received, entertaining, and deep pieces of journalism. But I was trying to entertain in my Patreon essay. And this morning I was journaling. I was like, well, I don't want to do what she did in this book. I want to show how it hurt. And now I'm switching the whole essay to talk about how I don't know how to have friends and still honor myself with the silence that I need without hurting anyone, but I have to hurt people. And like, that's going to be a bitch to write. And I'm going to be able to write it because I'm going to tell the truth. And I don't want to. For me, when it comes to writing creative nonfiction memoir, like, it's when I don't want to tell it. Ooh, I had this editor one time. Jennifer Traig, who wrote a bunch of memoirs that I love. She was going over some of my essays for Life in Stitches. And I would write these essays and they were brilliant and they were funny and they were great. And then they would get sent to her and she would go through the whole essay and then circle the one sentence that I didn't want to write about. And she would say, throw the rest of the essay away and go there. I was like, fuck. And that's what we want to do with our writing, even if it is first world privileged problems. We want to go where it hurts. And she only does that in the baby chapter. And some in the relationship a little bit.
Yeah. Like, isn't it weird that like it's almost like two sides of the coin? We fail if we don't say a truth. Like isn't that,
yes,
you know, isn't that? And so like the irony that actually she's trying to talk about failure without really telling her truth is interesting.
So interesting. Oh my God.
So interesting. I loved it. Anyway, okay. So I'm glad. Yeah. I really wanted to know what you thought of it, because I have been in a very bad place with reading since like April. And like before I was reading, I would say 3 to 5 books a week, closer to the 5, I would say. And now I'm struggling to get through like 1 a week. And this one, because it was slow and I didn't feel that emotional depth.
And you didn't have a panic that you had to do it, talk about it the next day. That's how you should have done it.
I know, exactly. Yeah, so it's taken me ages. So I'm hoping that I will get through it tonight. But yes, so the other thing that I wanted to ask you, well, apart from work, because no, let's talk about work first. Let's talk about work. So
I want to ask you.
Oh, okay.
You were going to finish a book.
Where was I? Where were we when No. So we last spoke at the end.
It was the last week of September. And
had I even started?
Yes, you had. Well, had you?
Yes, I started on the 16th of September. I remember.
Yeah, because I think maybe you were halfway through or something like that, and you were going to be done. And I think you wanted to have a revision done. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're not wrong. So here's what happened.
Woman.
Here's what happened. I wrote the book in 2 weeks and 4 days.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So I wrote the book ridiculously fast.
And this was the novel.
This was a novel, 70K.
Yes.
I wrote 70K.
Yes. Holy shit.
Yeah. Bear in mind, I've had this week off.
Good.
And so what happened is I went into decision fatigue. So
I hate decision fatigue.
I have learned a lot of lessons. I've had to have like extra coaching. So here's what happened. I back-ended a lot of the decision making about the world building.
What does back-ending mean to you? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Okay, so I decided all the plot, and I knew the main characters, and I knew kind of the characters around. And then I wrote the book, but what I didn't decide were like the brother's name or like the name of an object, which then influenced the color of a uniform. And so what I did was I shoved all of that to the end, and I wrote myself notes in it. So I knew the things that I would have to decide, but I didn't make any of the decisions. So instead of writing like the name of the brother, I would put brother in capital letters. So what that did is when I came to edit, I had a metric fuckload of decisions to make. But you see, not only was I trying to do that, the minute I go into drafting, I'm then starting to think about the marketing. And this is under a secret pen name, which I then destroyed the TikTok account because I'd had my face on there. So I deleted that account.
I did wonder about you having your face because somebody was going to see it and put it together. Okay.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. So I've started a new one in a new name, but I've done nothing yet. So anyway, but then I had to decide a new name. I had to decide if I was having a website. I had to decide if I was what are the branding colors? What is this? I needed to do a cover brief, which is all the decisions. And I just went.
I hate doing the cover briefs. That's a massive decision crunch time.
It is huge. That is, I think, the worst decision of them all. It's the most exciting, but also the hardest. Anyway, so I went into massive decision fatigue, and I stroppily messaged Ellie, and I was like, "Why the fuck am I editing so slowly?" And so, of course, she was like, "Look, here is what you can do to fix this. When you draft like this in the future, at the end of every writing session, you have to go back through and pick out all the capital letters notes to yourself, and you have to make the decision there and then." She was like, and then make those changes so that when you come to, because what I was doing was leaving them in the manuscript instead of putting them on Post-its, so that the Post-its then got dealt with.
Because the Post-its are where you hold them Yes, that
Exactly.
is my life. You have to put them on
Yes,
post-it so you can see them outside the manuscript, not inside. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I need to do. And I will think I will definitely make more decisions going forward, before I write. And also, this is the first book in a new series. So she was like, it is going to be slower. Book 2 will be faster because you've made all of these decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So long story short, I have edited 27,000 words out of what is now 77. So I've written 7K in editing 27.
In 3 weeks, and you had a week off and you feel like you're going slow. You're not going slow. You animal.
So to me. Like normally I would edit like, I don't know, like 9-10K a day or whatever. And like this also, what also doesn't help is that there are 2 ways to work the trope that I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
And I started out trying to use it one way and then was like, fuck, I need to use it the other way. So I had to do quite a lot of work at the front end to fix it.
So do you do what I do, which I think is the genius way of doing it? And I think I may have heard you talk about this. So I think you do it the same way I do it, which is where I'm writing a first draft. And if I have a great idea, that is when I like make myself a post-it and all caps note in the manuscript. And then I write forward as if I've made the change.
Yes.
So therefore, when you're cleaning up, you only have to get to that point and then it's cleaner after that. So yes, the first half of your book is going to be a gigantic mess, but it's going to get better and better as you go. Right. Hopefully.
I think so. Yeah. I am finding like, so when I came to it, the other thing that I've done is I've gone through every chapter and in Scrivener, I've kind of titled it like edit and add, rewrite. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to rewrite like 17 chapters. No, I have to rewrite like 3. And I've already rewritten one of them and it wasn't actually that much of a rewrite. I just had to pull some characters out of the scene. So I actually don't think it's in as much of a mess as I thought it was, but probably because I do that. As soon as I know something, I write like that. Yeah. So yeah. So
good job.
Yeah, I didn't do bad. I don't feel like it was a failure.
You did fucking amazing. You did. I think that, what would please you is if you wrote 3 additional books in the last 3 weeks and published them. Then you'd be like, I did okay. But
oh my goodness me. I tell you what though, I love it.
You do.
I literally love it because nobody knows. And like it is like, because it's going under a pen name, I just held nothing back.
You don't give a shit.
I give no fucks. And so like it is just the most I would, if anyone ever stumbles across it, it's almost so me that I would be surprised if people couldn't tell it was me. But like that's how me it is. But like in fiction, which is just crazy because I've never done that before. And oh my God, I just love it. And I read the first chapter to my wife, and my wife has never read anything. And she was like, I would read that. And I was like, oh my God.
I love that so much. I love that we're doing this at the same time that we're like, exploring that side of not giving a fuck and just writing what we desperately want to read and find in the world.
I know, which is what, so I want to know where you are at with everything, because books went off to copy edits, and so like what is going on?
Yeah, so I got 7 Miracles back from the copy editor who I didn't even touch it because I think I got it a few days before we left, and I was like, oh, that's fine. I had heard nothing from my agent on the memoir that she was, she kept saying she's going to, edit these first 3 chapters and then send it out on proposal, but I need to do this work. Heard nothing. And, I was getting stroppy about it when you and I were talking about it. And then I was like, I'm just going to let it go. And I just decided to let everything go for the trip. I hadn't heard, I'd also sent her the novel, 7 Miracles, and had heard nothing. And then the day before we came back, she sent me an email and she said, I love the novel. Let's talk. And she never loves anything I do. Like she loves me, she loves my work, but she never loves a first draft. I mean, or, a second draft, which this was. No, forget that. It was a revised draft. That's what I should always do. It was revised, it was, sent to copy edits. It was as good as I could make it. And she loved it. And so we had this phone call just a couple of days ago, and she wants to take it out in a couple of weeks. I'm going to implement the copy edits because they're kind of a wasted copy edit, right? They're not wasted if I end up self-publishing this. If she can't sell it, great. Copy edits are done. She also had a few small tinkering ideas that'll be easily incorporated while I'm doing the copy edit. And then she'll take it out in a couple weeks just before Thanksgiving. And if it sells, fantastic. And if it doesn't, I'll just self-publish it. I don't care. I already have a cover. I already did the cover
Oh
brief
my
and got the cover.
goodness, you have a cover.
I do. And I like it. I don't love it, but I got it from this place that was recommended to me. Mibel Art. Have you heard of them? MIBL?
Miblart.
Mibel Art. Yeah.
They're a Ukrainian company.
Yeah,
they are
Ukrainian.
amazing. Yeah.
And what I couldn't believe was that I was in this place where I was like, well, I don't know which way I'm going to take it. Am I going to do paranormal women's fiction? What am I doing? So I got the cover and I liked it a lot. And then they sent it to me and I think it was $200 and they gave me the PSD, the Photoshop file. And I'm good at Photoshop. I'm just not good at like arranging something. So now I have all the information that I can then make a cover that I really love. So basically they gave me something to revise if I do this cover, which I really do like. It's kind of got like rainbow flames and a potion bottle and a sigil that I created myself, an actual magical sigil for the book. That is on the cover of that is on the bottle that was tossed into the ocean that she finds in the book, like with a message inside. Like it's good. It's good.
I love it.
So Susanna will take that out. And now that I'm back at work, I'll spend the next 2 weeks doing that. So I won't get to do Nano, which I wasn't really planning on doing anyway. And then I will jump into finishing 90 Days to Done, the book. Which is the next thing on my plate to do in these next 2 months that I have off without teaching.
So what is the next fiction project?
I don't know. Susanna said, is this series potential? And I was like, well, I'm not really feeling series. However, if I was offered a lot of money, I'd be feeling series all day long. And I already know what the second book would be. Like, so if she could sell a 2-book deal, I'd definitely write a second book. Because the twin sister is going to fall in love with somebody who's already dead. Cause she couldn't, anyway, that I don't know how that would work, but there's another fiction. Like do you ever get the creepy crawlers of fiction in the back of your brain? Like I know the feeling of the book that I want to write next. And I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is, but I have the feeling. And I also have my wonderful assistant, Ed, is always throwing ideas at me. And he's had some really good new memoir ideas for me too. So after I do the recovery memoir, the fix, wherever that ends up going, and I've got the New Zealanders books that I'm writing about, moving to New Zealand, which really feels like it's coming to a close. It'll be a short memoir, but I think I'll probably self-publish it. I keep saying that. But the trip really solidified something for me. And it was beautiful that when we were leaving this, 15 months ago, when we left the States, leaving, especially my sisters, I could cry just thinking about it, was tearing out my heart. I felt it was a death because they're my life blood. And this time I just hugged them and I cried a tiny little bit. And I said, okay, bye. Because I was going home. When we left 15 months ago, I didn't have a home. We didn't even know what city we would live in. We knew nothing. We didn't know if we were making the right decision. And then when we got to Wellington, I was home. I wanted to kiss the ground. The city is so beautiful. Our home is so gorgeous. We love being here. So we have, the New Zealand memoir, I think, is pretty much at a close. I need to write about what it feels like to have created a true home with my partner, who is really my home. Right. So, and then I've got like 2 more memoir ideas after that. So yeah, I've got a bunch of books that are in the holding pattern up here, wanting to land at the airport.
I love it. I that tickle thing is usually like, it's not always a feeling for me. Sometimes it's like a concept or a thing that I want to say, or it's, like there is always something. And I usually have the next series or thing whilst I'm doing the previous one. And so then I'll be reading for that, or I'll be like mood boarding or whatever, trying to like coax it, like woo it to come to me, like you're trying to like bring the idea. So I definitely get that too.
So this new series, this new venture of yours, the secret one, what kind of series is this going to be? Remind me, how long do you want the series to be at this point in your head?
So Ellie is making me stay very experimental mindset focused.
Good.
So I think, and I can't remember if it was in the Quit book that I'm reading. So one of the things that I think I need to define before I published is, what are the we're quitting and pivoting parameters?
Yes.
So like, yes, okay, we can talk about success metrics, but what are the failure metrics? I don't want to use the word failure because like it doesn't feel like failure, but like what would make us pivot? And when do we know that we're going to pivot? Is it after one book? Is it after 3 books? Like there needs to be, I think, some parameters for me.
Would your parameters include things, not only metrics that can be measured, but also, this is going to sound woo-woo, but like feelings? Because sometimes for me, it's a feeling that like, what does it feel like when I think about the next book in a series? And if I want to die, maybe don't push through like I have done so many times.
So, well, and this is the interesting thing for me, like, and I've been having conversations about this because I have 2 very different strengths that push me in very different directions. So we have significance, who like wants everything to be important and it to be meaningful and for it to be beautiful and us to have an impact. And competition wants to earn some fucking money. So like, and competition is 1 and SIG is 5. However, SIG can often like dominate comp. So it just depends. And so what I'm trying to do is have like a plan A, a plan B, and then if they don't work, we're going to pivot and try something else, because the only way to stay resilient is to make the win about creating the best book that I can create, not about the outcome.
Which is, yes, the most important, which has always been the most important thing to me, is that every book has to be better than the one I wrote. To me, I don't care who the fuck else thinks of that. Really interesting that we chose to read the How to Fail book, though.
Right.
Because it does come back to like a lot of times I feel like the place I am most evolved as a human being is in writing, because I have failed so often in writing. You know, I have been fired by every major publisher in the world by, you know, not succeeding and selling enough books for them and getting let go. I have failed to please myself when it comes to doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm comfortable with that. I know that if I'm trying and trying and trying and keep trying to do what I love, then I am always successful. And I feel like I hear that in what you're saying. Having plan A, plan B, if they don't go the way they want them to, it's not a failure. It's just tell me more.
It's just, you have to define what the metrics are that you're measuring, right? Because what is success? If you are going into a genre that is fast paced, cleaner, less description, and rapid releases, if you do all of those things, does that class you as successful if you feel like you prefer books with more description? Right? Because you could earn a buttload of money by delivering exactly what the reader wants in that genre.
Yes.
And yet it doesn't marry with what you want to write. And so, like, I know we all talk about this, but like, is that successful? Some people will say no, because you are not happy, because you are not writing the thing that you really want to write. And then I'm like, okay, but what is the consequence of that? The consequence is either you continuing to write in that genre and not delivering what the reader wants, therefore the consequence is you will earn less money, or you go and find a different genre that is harder to earn money, or not, you know, but where you are better suited, and therefore you have to start again. And, you know, then there's all the other metrics, like maybe you're used to rapid releasing, but there's a slower release and it's more, you know, whatever. So it's like finding, like, you have to decide what the metrics are. Are the metrics are they internal metrics? Am I satisfied with this book and the quality that I determine it to be of quality? Or am I measuring purely by sales numbers? Because like, it's like, I don't know, like, I always feel, I don't know, I want the sales numbers, but also I feel like that isn't always a marker, or it's not a marker of quality of a book, because it's a marker of how well you've marketed and delivered something that the reader wants. So I honestly feel like the success is finding the sweet spot between what you want to write
both.
and what the reader wants, and that there's a market there. And I don't know if I'm doing that this time around, to be perfectly honest. And what Ellie keeps telling me is just write, well, she doesn't say it in exactly these words, but she's like, just get the fucking book finished, because you've got no data. Until you publish the fucking book, you've got zero data. So like, and that's so true. I don't have any data. So all I'm doing is going round and round and round, looping, because I have no data. And until it's out there and until I can see the response, I'm going to continue to have no data. So
what do you think?
I don't know.
The marriage of the internal metrics and the external metrics, when they finally hit and coalesce in the place that pleases both, is what I know that I'm after, which is why I'm always kind of pivoting slightly. What is your when do you want to have this published by, the first book? Are you holding it, or are you going to release it and then write the next book? Release. Yes.
So like I have a release date. If I get it and hand it to my critique partner I'm looking at my Gantt chart, on the 11th, 13th at the latest of November, then I will release it on the 26th of January.
I like how like excited, like you just got like all sparkly while you were talking about that.
And the reason I will do that is because I should be writing book 2 in January. Yeah. So I can then have book 2 on pre-order. Yes. But there's lots of ifs and buts. So, like if I don't get it to my critique partner on the 13th of November, then the date's going to shift because, so on and so forth. So yeah, I will try to have book 1 out as fast as possible with book 2 on pre-order. They are episodic standalones.
Mm-hmm. Does the main character go from book A to book B, or are they?
They're different main characters, but all the characters are in all of the books.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I am. I love it. I love it. Like, really, really. And this is why I have to be so careful, because I don't want to get too emotionally invested.
No, fuck that. You get to be as emotionally invested as you want, because you are resilient enough to have your heart broken if that's what has to happen. Don't hold back any of the emotion.
Can't I just pour it all into the book, and then so there's nothing left for me to have any emotions about the outcome?
You have have so much extra. You've got all the extra. You've got all of that. I don't like it. I don't like it when you and I, other people, but when we try to protect ourselves from that, we can't protect ourselves from shit like that. You can't.
I know,
you cannot.
But I want to. If it doesn't work, I want to be able to pivot faster, and the only way to do that is to be more rational and less volatile emotionally about the outcome.
And that's why you have metrics set up in advance. And then you also have your emotional state and your connectedness to it as something that you talk about, with Ellie, that is just on the board. And you get to ask, am I being unreasonably emotional about that? Or do these metrics? No, just plan for that. Don't try to hold yourself back. You won't succeed.
I know. The irony. How to fail at emotions. Be me.
Just let yourself be excited about it.
It's not the excitement, it's the wanting it to succeed because I love it so much. That's a dangerous place for me to be in.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the thing that I'm trying not to do, because I will love a thing so hard, I will love it to death, literally. So I have to, that's the bit that I'm trying to be back about. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to put everything into the craft of the story. And this is the interesting thing. It isn't what I used to think was the height of what I want my craft to be. But I love what the craft is in this book. So it's like I found a new piece of me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I do just love it.
You do look like a Twitter-pated fool. You just look like you have fallen in love, and remember, you're in bed jail, like love jail. That's fine. We won't see you for a few months.
Oh man, it really is. But anyway, so yeah, I'm full of joy. So the last thing I wanted to ask you, did you read Becca's email about learners?
I don't think so, because I'm behind an email as usual. And I usually save Becca's to actually like read and watch the videos. Can you encapsulate it for me? And because it's really affected you. And I would like to know.
It has massively affected me.
Where's my learner?
So,
my learner is 12. So it's pretty high.
It is. And you have input. So you
Number
may like
one.
this. Yeah, exactly.
It's 100% influenced.
So, and I don't want to, I will say that I don't want to summarize Becca's words incorrectly. So definitely go and read them in her words.
Yes.
Because she will do a much better job of explaining it. So I will tell you what I have taken away personally, and what I'm going to do, rather than telling you exactly what she said.
Perfect.
So what the summary is a kind of build your own year-long learning program. And yeah,
I did see this, and then I closed it immediately because I'm like, I have to go deep. I want to like spend time with this. I need my journal in my hand.
Yes, literally.
Year-long learning plan.
So what she is basically saying is, instead of us just consuming,
yes,
go deep on one topic and do it almost to like your own kind of masters. And
my input is just like freaking out with happiness.
Yeah.
With joy.
And then she was like, talk to all your input friends and get them to give you resources and links and courses. And then, but the really important thing that I took away is that for me, it's important to consume all the things, but it's about the action that you take afterwards.
Yes.
So what I am doing is, every book I read, every course I take, every seminar I do, I brought a new notebook because obviously,
gorgeous.
But it's A4, and every like hour-long session or whatever will have one page. Every book will have one page. I'm not allowed to write any more notes than one page. That is it, because I have to have the salient points out, because I'm going to turn them into action. So everything will have an action that comes out. And then
my achiever just got so happy too. That's painful.
If I don't implement that action, I don't pass. I will not pass myself.
Fuck off.
I will not pass myself. I will not pass. So I have to implement. And that's why I'm going to be really careful.
Number 2, intellection, and number 3, achiever. And what you have just said is like crack cocaine in my brain. Especially the don't pass. Like there's my number 9 competition. Yep. Is like, no, I'm going to motherfucking pass. Well, and that's the problem, isn't it? That we input, or I will speak for myself. I input, intellect so much. And I think of all of the points, and then I'm too busy intellecting and inputting more things. And I don't ever do the one action item that blew my mind. And I'm like, I'm going to do that, but I never made time to do it. And then I forget.
Yep. And so that's why I'm putting them all into one book. Yes. That will be like the book of do. And therefore
the do book.
It will be the do book, right? Exactly. And like, I'm going to be really strict about, I'm only allowed a page, because otherwise what am I going to do? Yes. I'm going to write 15 pages and I'm never going to go back to those 15 pages, because that's me. That's what I do.
Me too.
I'm like, I have to condense it onto one page only, and like 3 actions or whatever. Maybe one book has 20 actions and one has 3,
one has 1,
whatever.
right? Exactly.
Exactly. But the point is to take action on them, and otherwise I'm not going to pass myself. So
will you niche it to a topic for the whole year, or are you allowing yourself to be more broad?
Well, the question I was going to ask you is, what one topic, if you could learn or take a master's or do a thing on one topic to help you either bring yourself joy and happiness or build your business, what would it be? And I feel bad because I know intellection.
Intellection is panicking.
Yeah. But like, that is the kind of question that I've asked myself to try and get to this point.
My first response is not one that I absolutely love, but often my first response is right. That I feel like I naturally inhale everything about craft and and I'm happy. I know how to write. I know I don't have a problem writing. I don't have a problem doing the work. I don't need, we could all use more help with everything, obviously. But for me, the actual plan of marketing and reaching readers is what I need more. Look at your face. Your face is that what you're coming to too?
Yep. So I love craft, and if I go down this route, I still need to give myself permission to be able to read craft books just because I do it for joy.
Yes, it's joy.
So I'm not excluding them, but for me, it is, it's about money management.
Yes, yeah, me too.
And marketing, being better at. And by marketing, I mean like not just marketing as an author, but as a business person.
Yes.
Like that is the bit that, like, I need to be a better business person. And so I don't quite know how to niche that, because it still feels big, but it feels more niche than everything.
Exactly. As usual, we're on the same page about this. I would love, I know we're running out of time today, but I would love, maybe next time, can we talk a little, I don't know how you feel about this, so you can say anything and you will not hurt my feelings, but I do love to talk about money and money shit, money history, money blocks. And if we had time today, I was going to ask you, like, what was your biggest failure in life? And I have so many to choose from, but mine really do stem from really fucking up with money in a real bad way for a very long time. Wow, your face just like, I just love looking at your face. You are not a cryptic tome, just like my wife. I can read you. And I do believe that, like, I've done a lot of work with money blocks, etc., but I can always do more. And maybe we can talk about that a little bit next time too.
Yeah. To summarize, I had 40 grand's worth of debt that I had to clear. I cleared it in like 3.5 years before I quit my day job, because otherwise I wasn't allowed to quit my day job. But that was like, and it wasn't necessarily mismanagement. It was a series of circumstances that happened that led me to that point. And it was what it was. But yeah, like that's probably my biggest failure, because I could have quit earlier, I think.
I had $127,000 worth. And some of it was life circumstances. A great deal of it was, and some of it was just bullshit. Starting from when I was 18 and given my first credit card at college,
Yep.
Can we put this on to talk about more next month? And maybe off air, we'll discuss maybe a money book that neither of us have read, which is that possible?
Yes.
But I would love to find
Okay. Yes. Okay.
What brilliant. A fantastic talk. I am going to go get a new notebook, because I think I'm out of notebooks, and I'm going to make a do book too. Do you mind if I just copy you?
Yeah,
completely?
Do it. I
will read the email too. Oh, don't worry.
Yeah. Yes,
the email that we're talking about, if anybody is joining us for the very first time and has no idea what we're talking about, just very quickly, Becca Syme, Syme, talks about Clifton strengths and targeted directly at writers. And we are both members of her Patreon, which anybody should join, so you get these incredible emails about how to work your life better than you have been working your life.
Yeah. And if you join, you get access to all her back catalogue. So you would get access to this email.
Oh yeah. Good point.
This post.
And
it's a post that we get emailed.
Right. And the posts, I think, go to everybody at every level. I think that's maybe her entry level. Right. So both Sacha and I pay lots of money to the Patreon, because then we get the coaching.
I just end of the month and I just open my fucking wallet basically and hand it to Ellie. Here you go, hon. Here you go.
And it's the best fucking money I spend. I always come out of my office and tell Lala, there we go. Life changed again. Yeah. Sorry, Ellie. All right, my friends, we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for this. This has been awesome. I love talking to you.
Mwah.
Happy writing. Mwah.